Any unresolved emotion is usually indicates that there's a lesson we didn't learn.
Feelings need to continue to evolve to the point where we're detached. What I mean by detach is we've gotten to the point where we're not overly vested in that feeling or the outcome.
What do I need to do to be at peace so that I can operate from a place of courage and faith in the future? Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. And today I'm interviewing Mia Poppe, who's a New York City-based attorney. And the topic is the Steel Magnolia approach to family law, because she is the creator, the generator, the champion of the Steel Magnolia approach to family law. How are you today, Mia?
I'm excellent, Rich, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today. Thank you for the invite.
It's so awesome to have you here. And Mia, folks, Mia and I, we're acquainted in the real world. It's unusual. Usually, like, I meet people for the first time here, but this time I get to talk to somebody I actually know, which is so juicy.
And we've broken bread together, Rich.
Right. Yeah. It is so different when you have sat down to eat with someone than when you meet I've got friends, like pre-pandemic friends, who are strictly video friends that I've never met in person even, and much less broken bread. It's totally different universe.
Wow.
Hey, so here's the question I asked everybody in the beginning of the show. Mia, how did your heart lead you to do this work? Like, what is it about this work that you're passionate about?
So, Rich, that's a great question. Number one, I am absolutely passionate about the practice of matrimonial law. And, where my heart begins and ends with my current profession is when I was a little girl, 7 or 8 years old. I dreamed of being three things. I dreamed of being a businesswoman and being on the phone all day, every day. I dreamed of being a lawyer. And I dreamed of being a psychologist. And so those were my aspirations as a young child. And then as I went to college, Citi recruited me right out of college, and I went into banking immediately out of college, and I was a banker for 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, with Citigroup, Bank of America, and GE Capital. GE Capital before Bank of America. And so, Rich, while I was with Citi, Bank of America, and GE, and knew nothing about law, never, no law school, nothing. People, friends, acquaintances, whenever someone was going through a divorce and they had lawyers and there was a decision point or a settlement agreement, people would always say, Mia, what do you think? Or, Mia, would you read this and tell me what you think? That, Rich, that was a constant through my very young life. It was a constant. And so there came a point in my life after my second divorce, and my first divorce, and I'd gotten, back on my feet. I'd reoriented myself, and I was doing extremely well as a banker. And at this point I was with Bank of America. And I just thought, is this what you do for the rest of your life? Good salary. I earn, crazy bonuses each year that exceed most people's salaries. Is this all for me? Or do I use this money to buy back my time? Now, Rich, I got to tell you, that whole concept of, do I use this money to buy back my time? That was not my thinking. I mean, it literally was a God-inspired thought.
Sweet.
Whole notion of buying back your time is not a notion or mindset that I would have ever come in contact with as, a Black person from South Carolina, which is where I was raised my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the inspired thought that came to me. And so I kind of brushed that thought away. And
Yeah, it's like that sometimes, right? New thought comes in, you go, I never thought that.
the thought, buy back my own time, was so novel. And I mean, it was just novel. Like I didn't even know anybody personally who had ever done anything like that, join your workforce, because everybody I knew, had to work, to pay their basic bills and buy food for their families.
Yeah.
And so I pushed that thought aside, but I kept the thought of, this is what's next for me. This can't be all for me. And so I applied to law school, a part-time night program, so that I could work and parent my 3 sons during the day and go to law school at night. So I applied. I took the test from hell, the LSAT, which I think no mature people should be taking. No one over 30 should sit for the LSAT. And I took the LSAT. I applied, sent everything in. And to my extreme disappointment, I received a rejection letter. Yes.
Yeah, that's like, oh my God.
You're not accepted. We thank you for applying. We can't invite you in. And, I was flabbergasted because, one thing that's certain, all my life, I've been a real big overachiever, and anything that I set my mind to, I've had a history of being able to nail it. So I get this rejection letter and I'm in disbelief, but in typical my style, which is, I don't really take no's. I think, no can't be no. And so I contacted the school and I wanted to meet and talk with someone to, exactly what is going on. And so I did. They spoke with me and they said, part-time night is the most aggressive form of our program, because people who are part-time night are also working. And, your LSAT scores just don't demonstrate that you're a good fit for the most aggressive aspect of our program. And they said, but we feel confident that if you applied to our regular day program, you would probably be accepted. And I thought, I'm a single mom with 3 boys and I work, I have a career. How am I going to, go to law school full time during the day? And I said it. And Rich, honestly, when I said it, how would I do this? I said it and I dispelled it. And I said, okay, done. I'll buy back my time.
Yeah, that thought came back.
That thought came back. So I went to law school. Of course, I graduated in the top 10% of my class with honors. And what do you think about this divorce, Mia? What do you think about my divorce? Continued. And so even in law school, family law continued to pursue me aggressively. And so when I graduated from law school, I relocated from North Carolina to New York and couldn't buy a job because it was in 2008. Do you remember 2008, Rich?
Yeah, I remember it well. That was an interesting season in life.
Yes, I couldn't buy a job, which again flabbergasted me because I had this great career pedigree. City right out of college, onto General Electric, onto Bank of America. What could be more of a pedigree? But I couldn't buy a job. And so I started my own law firm. And
Super courageous.
Yeah, wow. I mean, when I look back, it takes my breath away, literally, when I think back to what I did. But I started my own law firm and I wasn't niche family law. Family law was one of the things. So I started my law firm and I thought, I'll do family law, business law, and immigration law.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did that and I was in New York City and I quickly discovered that generalists are not top lawyers in New York City. And so about, 3 to 6 months in, I stopped doing all immigration law. And then between 6 and 8 months in, I stopped doing all business law. And
Nice.
I have been practicing matrimonial or family law for the last 15 years exclusively, and it found me. And I am in love with the practice of family law. And I'm so in love with it, Rich, that I always tell my team, I have a fabulous team of 10 people. And I always say, every client, every case is personal with me. If it's not personal, I don't take the case.
Nice. I love it.
That is what I do every day, every case I take. If I don't feel personally drawn to the case, if I don't feel that I'm going to be advocating as if you are my sister, my brother, my best friend, or even myself, as someone who's been through 2 divorces, if it doesn't feel personal, and if I'm not willing to, put my own career on the line, I will not take the case.
Very cool. And, it's funny. There's so much I hadn't heard there. Having broken bread with this, I learned so much about you. That's actually pretty amazing. Your history, your roots, what you came up against, what you needed to push through, and how you got started. It's a great story. And we were talking a little bit before we got started about what it meant growing up in the South. And I'm curious, we were talking about how, there wasn't so much opportunity to buy back your time in the beginning there. It was more like, where are we going to get the money? And I'm curious how that experience of growing up in South Carolina and, sort of struggling and being in that culture, how that shaped this steel magnolia approach to family law. And I think our listeners probably want to know, what is a steel magnolia approach? What does it mean? We all get steel, we know what magnolias are. We've seen the movie. Some of us are too young to remember steel magnolias, but tell us more about that.
I can tell you, I love this question, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about something I love to talk about. So the term steel magnolia is a Southern term, and it's unusual beauty and fortitude.
Mm-hmm.
And so when someone says, that a woman is a steel magnolia, she possesses uncanny beauty, and she possesses uncanny fortitude. And when I want to pause and just say, because I people all the time describe me as very beautiful, and I always smile because, as a very spiritual person, not religious, but as a very spiritual person, I so believe that what's inside of you just radiates out. And so the more love there is in your heart, and the more your heart shines, I believe it reflects on your face. So whenever somebody tells me or compliments me and says, "Oh, you're so beautiful, you're so striking," I always smile because I take it as a compliment to my heart's condition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what steel magnolia. If somebody refers to you as a steel magnolia, a woman of uncanny beauty and uncanny fortitude.
And how does that show up in your relationship with your clients? And I'm sure an aspect of it is helping them to discover their steel and their beauty and their resilience and determination.
Let me tell you, I think one of the unique things about me and my relationship with my clients is that, again, it's personal with me. I said that before. And so because it's personal with me, I deal with my clients as a very open book. I myself have been through 2 divorces. I've turned those corners, and I am always sharing with my clients what they need to do to come through this transition, bright and shining. And so I've walked through it, and I know what the magic sauce is, and I can articulate the magic sauce. And the magic sauce is detachment. That's one of them. Detachment and teaming up and really setting your mind on the end, which is your real happily ever after. And so I'm able to quarterback through that. And, listen, frequently when divorces hit us, I mean, people are hit like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Torrent, Rich, the torrent of emotions. And so I understand those emotions. But because I've been through them, I can say to a client who's in the midst of them, listen, this is not going to serve you. I know you're as mad as hell, but it won't serve you. And so that's what I'm able to do in terms of Steel Magnolia. I'm able to really put up boundaries for my clients that I won't let them break. Like, this is not going to serve you. Also, Rich, I've had, some really crappy decisions from judges in my own matters, in my own custody matter that, dragged on for 4.5 years. And, really what I thought were bad and egregious decisions. And I was teamed up, and I had a life coach and a meditation coach who would not let me live in that land of mad with a judge or speaking ill of a judge. And so I tell my clients very straightforward, listen, I know you're upset, but what you cannot do is you cannot and you will not badmouth a judge into my ears. You certainly will not and cannot badmouth a judge in my office, because there's nothing good that can come from those low-level vibrations. And so clients allow me to say that. That's a tough message, right? When a client has been slammed with a horrible decision and they want to slam a judge, and their attorney says, no, you won't and you can't, not with me, right? Well, that's a tough message, because, you want your lawyer to say, yeah, that's right. Nobody likes that judge. No, not from me. It will not. It won't serve us. It won't serve us.
Understanding what's going on is super important. I had an emergency session with a client this morning who he's already divorced, and his wife is taking him back to court because there's trouble. They have trouble making decisions together. That's long story short. And he was in a position where the attorney for his child and the PC got into alignment about him in a way that was not positive for his case. And, I had to spend some time educating him on how this works. Listen, he's like, I'm going to fight it. I'm going to smear the PC. I don't even know who this lawyer is representing. He was really pissed. And I'm like, listen, you need to understand how this works. You need to understand, the position these judges are in, that, they're seeing a million cases. They're trying to move as many of them through their court as possible. They don't have time to really be fair. So, you need to understand that your PC, as effed up as you think she is, and this other attorney who is, you've never met before, right? That he sees them as neutrals, and he's going to there is nothing you can say that's going to bring them down in his eyes, because he doesn't have time for you. Not because he's a bad guy, not because, or she, I don't even know what kind of, male or female, not because they're awful human beings, but because the situation that they're in is such that this is how they need to operate. And he was like, oh, I was like, all right, now what are you going to do with that information? And he's now rethinking the whole, I'm going to spend $1 million and fight it to the hilt, because the way the system is set up and with the way the cards are stacked right now, he doesn't have a lot of options. So I think this thing of taking it personally and making decisions about the judge or the system, it just doesn't work.
Listen, and the other thing that clients need to understand is, listen, this literal bullshit that you were a participant in creating, that you couldn't even fix, like a third-party judge is supposed to be who didn't live in the house, who doesn't have intimate knowledge of the players.
Doesn't want to have intimate knowledge.
Doesn't want to have, but this nonsense that you were co-creator in, that you could not fix. How do these unreasonable expectations attached to a judge. Now, also, remember, Lady Justice is blind. And so we at all times are seeing things from our perspective. I see everything from my client's perspective. I'm an advocate. I don't even try to see things fairly, right? I try to be open-minded to where the other side is going because I'm always forecasting where they're going to go. But if I have a case, I believe in that case, right? I believe my client. I am not neutral. I am an advocate. And so when you are radically sold on a position, what you see is very different from a neutral trier, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very different. And so, I help clients really understand that, and I help them to understand it in a very forthright way. But the steel Magnolia, I'm very forthright in this is what we're not going to do. I never sit by and let my clients say things that will not serve their long-term interests and remain silent. I don't do that. I never do that.
And how do you, one of the things you said that really resonated with me, because I've done a ton of work with people on this, is you help them to keep their eyes on the prize, right? Like, we can get all upset about what's happening in the now, but it's not going to, being angry or hanging out in anger and blame isn't going to help us. We can have, but it's normal and natural, but hanging out in it and holding on to it and riding it like a wave, that's not going to help us. So how do you help them get past that and keep their eyes on that bright, shiny future you're trying to help them create? You're not trying, you are helping them create.
I really am. And so, I'm glad you mentioned emotions and feelings, because I believe in feelings. And I believe we should learn to sit through our feelings, take note of what's triggering us, right? Because, we all know this at some level, that the things that trigger us, those are the things that we need to be doing self-work on, right? We know that, right? And so I'm a big believer in, listen, pay attention to your feelings, sit through them, but, don't take residence there forever, because, we need to keep moving, right? And our feelings need to evolve. And what do I mean? Where do feelings evolve to? Feelings need to evolve. So we have the feelings, they're real, acknowledge them, sit through them, process them, understand it. But feelings need to continue to evolve to the point where we're detached. And what I mean by detach is we've gotten to the point where we're not overly vested in that feeling or the outcome. Meaning, listen, I show up, I do what I'm supposed to do, and come what may, it will be okay. Right? Come what may, it will be okay. And listen, that declaration of it will be okay is a powerful declaration. And I understand why people sometimes get emotional, because it's not infrequent that the other side's hands are filthy, dirty, they're lying, they're cheating. But, life has some real, some real paradigms. Life has some real laws. And I always say, just wait. Because one thing that's true is that stupid always goes too far. A liar always will eventually go too far. And if we can sit and wait for that moment, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to go in exploding, because then the judge just dispels everybody. They go, these two people hate each other, or both these people are mad at each other, or both these people are emotional. And you don't want that. That's something that I work really hard to avoid. I work really hard to avoid my client being lumped in the judge's mind as these two people.
One of those people.
One of those.
Oh, it's another one of them.
Another one of them.
And we're not talking about class, race, or religion. We're talking about feelings here. It's another one of those people in my corner who's just, an emotional, vomiting emotion all over the place. God, I can't. Why do I have to deal with this again? Yeah, no. When you can help your clients to bring in those feelings, the judge notices.
They absolutely notice. And listen, one of the things that I did in my own personal trips to the courthouses, and I recommend it. I say it all the time. Team up. Listen, when you've been hit with a divorce, especially if custody is an issue, you receive that dagger to your heart. You've been hit.
Yeah.
Team up. Team up. Work with a therapist, work with a life coach, work with a divorce coach, as I did, work with a meditation coach. You gotta team up. And listen, I say it all the time. I'm not a divorce coach. I'm not a life coach, and I get no proceeds from the same, but I push my clients to those helpers because listen, you got to team up and you have to have somebody to walk with you on this very, very tough journey.
I think you may be a closet divorce coach, but I think from the client, the problem is, of course, that your specialization is law, and your hourly reflects that. It's a very different hourly to be a qualified attorney than it is to be a divorce coach, even a really good divorce coach. Yeah, the thing I'm always telling my clients, and by the way, though, I just want to say, for the record, it is very rare that you have someone who is an excellent matrimonial attorney and who understands the emotion and can really be in there with their clients. And the problem is that if you're a practicing attorney, taking calls at 2 a.m. from your clients is a big interruption to your legal practice. And so it's very hard to do both. And I think it's awesome that you have the emotional background for that. And the problem with emotion is the purpose of emotion is always to teach us a lesson. Any unresolved emotion is usually indicates that there's a lesson we didn't learn. And the lesson isn't, man, he's such a poop, or she's such a, that's not the lesson. The lesson is always about ourselves. So I love the way you're talking about helping your clients manage their feelings, helping them not live in blame and anger, helping them hang out in the feelings and see where it takes them, right? Because it's like we're all on this journey. We're all on this journey, and the lesson is always about, what do I need to change inside of me to be at peace? The circumstances may be unfair and feel unjust, but what do I need to do to be at peace so that I can operate from a place of courage and confidence and faith in the future?
You know what, Rich? You're saying some incredible jewels. So really, and I don't mean to sound too metaphysical, but if I had to give myself another pen name, it would be the metaphysical lawyer, right?
Well, that's the next podcast.
That's the next
podcast, the metaphysical lawyer. But today you're the Steel Magnolia approach law.
And then exactly. Make no mistake, and I hope everybody going through a divorce, especially when custody is at issue, make no mistake, we all were co-creators in the situation that we found ourselves in. We were co-creators. Make no mistake about that. And the second thing to make no mistake is this horrific feeling situation is not here to destroy you. It's really here to bring out the strongest, the most purified you, right? Because when we're hit in an area that's vulnerable. We're hit in an area that we hadn't built up sufficiently. And so when a divorce with something that's a really toxic situation, like, we all have to accept that is your journey. That is your journey. But what I tell my clients is, believe me, this journey will not be the unmaking of you. I will not, Rich, under any day, under any circumstance, I will not ever be a witness to the unmaking of any client that makes the quality decision to retain me.
Love it.
I will never be on the sidelines watching a client, become completely undone, completely defeated. No, absolutely. That's an absolutely not, absolutely never. I'm going to navigate the legal landscape in a way that we are, mitigating your risk for your future, your relationship risk with your children, your relationship risks with the communities that you guys are a part of, and not to be underscored, your risk with money, because it takes money. It takes money to raise kids. It takes money to live your life.
It takes money to buy back your time.
It takes money to to buy back your time. So I am there, and I am the experienced legal practitioner that's going to be mitigating, containing, right, and really getting rid of some of that risk so that you can turn the corner into your real happily ever after.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing to head you in for that bright future, because we will get there.
Hey, Mia, how can people find you?
People can find me at miapoppe.com. That's miapoppe.com. They can also find me at nylawsa.com. And I am all over social media.
Yeah, I'm on that website right now. I'm just looking at it. There's some great pictures of you with your team here, by the way. Yeah, and your children. Y'all got to check this out. And Mia, the question I ask people as we near the end, and sadly we are near the end, is what is the legacy you want to leave behind?
Oh my gosh. I want to leave a legacy behind that, she made a difference. And the picture I have in my mind, we've all heard the story about the little boy who goes out to the beach, and there are all of these starfishes that have washed up on the sand. And the child's parent tells them, starfish have to stay in the ocean or they're going to die. These starfish are going to die. And the little boy says, what can we do? And the parent says, you can start throwing one in at a time back into the ocean. And so really in the big, vast sea of what I do, my vocation, which is my passion, listen, I want to bring one client back into his or her sea at a time, back to their middle, back to their true north. And so that's really what I want my legacy to be. She made a difference, one client at a time.
Nice. I love it. And folks, Mia's website and all her good social media stuff, is in the description for the podcast and the video blog. And if it's not, you should DM me and I'll make sure that you get it. Mia, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Rich, thank you so much for the invite. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed, Rich, that I'll get a part 2 invite.
Yeah, let's do it again. Let's do the metaphysical one. I was joking about it, I was thinking I could be the metaphysical relationship coach. I probably sell better. People love the metaphysical, yeah.
I'm way into the metaphysical.
I come across very earthy and grounded. Maybe I need to be more metaphysical, Yeah.
Yes, I'm definitely that person walking on water daily, Rich.
There you go. All right. Thank you again. And let's do this again soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you, Rich.